Cartoon Network has brought us some incredible shows in their over 32-year run. One of the most marketable and creative of these shows is Ben 10, featuring a young man with a watch that could transform him into many different alien life forms. With such cool character designs, well-written plots, and a unique world, this leaves longtime fans of the series with one question: where is the Ben 10 movie? What's happening, everybody? I'm Batwolf, and in this movie pitch, we are going to be writing, casting, and finding the vision for a Ben 10 movie. Hollywood has tried at least on 3 separate occasions to bring this story to the big screen. However, for some reason, it's been deemed impossible or too complicated to come out with a movie featuring Ben Tennyson. Well, let's see if we can make things a little simpler. And with that said, let us begin. First things first, we need a director with the right level of execution and imagination to bring this alien world to life. First, we have a man who is no stranger to bringing animated characters to the big screen. Jon Favreau is a perfect pick to direct this movie, as he has always had a great respect for the source material and does an excellent job with his blends of both practical and CGI effects. Known for jumpstarting the MCU with establishing Iron Man's vibe and style as its Happy Hogan and director, and coming out with some of the best content that Star Wars has ever had by heading the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. He also does a great job of taking depictions of animated worlds and bringing them to life with his Jungle Book and Lion King movies. As this is most likely going to be a movie that the whole family could see, Favreau would be able to bring a film with tons of humor, well-paced action, and an imaginative world that would last for years to come. Not to mention his work with child actors, making them feel like they have a stake in the stories rather than simply being supporting characters to another's narrative. All we really need for him to succeed is for the studio to stay out of his way and to not mess with his vision, as so many have done before. First Mjolnir, now the Omnitrix. Taika Waititi is our next choice to direct a Ben 10 movie. Known for his unique and hilarious films like What We Do in the Shadow and the last couple Thor entries, Waititi does a fine job of redefining characters with his humor and colorful scenes that it brought some much needed life to the Thor franchise. Not only has his humorous jokes and creativity brought opportunities for his career, but also many young talents in the industry, managing to tell impactful and artistic stories with young main characters like in Jojo Rabbit, The Boy, and producing the hit series Reservation Dogs. Not only do I believe that Waititi would be the preferred choice, but so does the studios who are doing the Akira movie, another youth-driven action series. I could see him crafting a humorous, fun movie that will kick butt with its aliens, out-of-this-world visuals, and childlike charm he's brought before. So now we meet the faces of our film. While I ordinarily only cast the title character, in this case we are going to be casting the main 3 characters of the original series: Ben, Gwen, and Grandpa Max Tennyson. Ben Tennyson, the hero of our story, the wielder of the Omnitrix, is a bit of a goofball. Our Ben needs to be a troubled kid with the heart of a hero. One that could be brash and fearless, but hides his insecurities with jokes and shenanigans. While it would be ideal for our actor to be 10 years old to match with the first series, I think it would be okay to age the character up to a high school age. So to look between 12 to 16 years old. There are plenty of actors who look like Ben, but these are ones I believe that have the presence and star quality we need for our main character: Max Charles, Noah Jupe, and Mason Thames. Now for Ben's intelligent and hardworking cousin, Gwen. Gwen is usually the smartest person in the room, and at this point, she knows it. We need a Gwen to have a never back down attitude, with a confidence and intolerance for wrongdoing. Gwen, like Ben, is usually fearless, but she will have hidden anxieties and tends to worry too much. Besides her teasing and sarcastic comments to Ben, this Gwen will need to make us believe that she has the maturity beyond her years. So for Gwen, Sadie Sink, Jada Facer, and Ursula Parker. For one of the greatest grandpas in fiction, Grandpa Max should be the symbol of honor and responsibility. A person you could tell that the kids get their hero gene from, while also being a jokester with a warm heart of gold. His caring smile should make the kids and the viewer feel like they're safe and like they can confide in him, while also having the habits and the discipline of someone who has a law enforcement background. For our Grandpa Max, we have John Goodman, Tim Robbins, Brendan Gleeson, and Bruce Campbell. So now that we have some of our biggest pieces, what we need now is a really good script to bring it all together. However, for those of you who are hoping that I'm going to be putting a bunch of characters and every single alien into this script, I won't be able to. It's just too big and there are too many characters a part of an entire series. To shove it all into one movie would be frankly disrespectful to a lot of those really well-written characters. And keep in mind, this is going to be people's first interpretation of Ben 10, and we don't want to overstuff the film, otherwise they might lose focus. What we need is a relatable story about a young man trying to find his way and figure out who he is in this world, and realizing the ultimate lesson of taking responsibility. We start this movie with the construction of the Omnitrix, the pieces coming together, the DNA extractions downloading, and we see the ultimate weapon light up. The watch then fades into a simple clock that hangs on the classroom wall. Ben Tennyson taps his foot on the ground, biding time before his final class of his sophomore year. The theme on his English exam, "Who am I?" A question that many never discover, much less for a 16-year-old. The school bell finally rings and the kids rush out to begin their summer vacation. As Ben walks out of the school, he sees some local bullies, Cash and JT, picking on a kid. Ben hides his school supplies in a bush and walks over. Cash and JT see Tennyson and make a joke about how they have to teach him this lesson once again. Ben gets a bloody lip for his troubles and yelled at to mind his business from the kid he was trying to help. Ben gets home and meets his parents in the driveway. They give him a talking to about missing the bus, and Ben doesn't bother telling them why. The family bitterly make their way to a large gym. They show up in support for Ben's cousin, Gwen, as she fights in her judo tournament. Ben notices his grandfather sitting in a corner by himself. Ben sits with his grandpa and he immediately lights up. He asks Ben how his test went, and Ben tells him that he didn't understand the question. Ben says maybe he'll join the military and get some medals like his grandfather. Max reminds him that it was a long time ago, and he's just an old plumber now.
Point victory!
Ben looks up and sees how Gwen is victorious, yet again. Gwen smiles in triumph as her arm is raised. Perfect Gwen always wins, while Ben just passes. Later, the Tennyson family make their drive home. It doesn't take long for Ben and his father to start arguing. They shout about Ben being irresponsible and late all the time, that all he does is get into fights at school and play video games. And once again, like Ben always hears when he's a bad example, "Why can't you be more like your cousin?" This time, Ben had enough, and in response he says, "I wish you were more like Grandpa." The truck goes silent after that. We fly across the stars as an octopus-looking alien calmly pilots her ship. A voice calls out on a monitor.
Xylene, do you copy? Have you reached the planet? Is the weapon safe?
I read you. I'm on a steady course for Earth and She's suddenly interrupted by a swarm of robotic shuttles attempting to destroy her ship. A voice booms from the mothership.
Plumber Xylene, I, Vilgax, order you to submit the weapon, or be destroyed, and I shall take it from your corpse.
Xylene blasts her way through, just enough to gain a little leeway, but survival seems impossible for this soldier. Back on Earth, Ben sits in his room, looking at the ceiling. We see a little more about this Ben Tennyson, his interests like comics, collectibles, and of course his Sumo Slammers video games. He hears his father ranting about Ben and his frustrations of him not growing up. Ben looks out the window to the open sky, wishing to be anywhere but here, to be anyone but Ben Tennyson. He puts on his headphones and goes to sleep. In the morning, Ben learns that his parents have decided to give him some room to grow and have set up a summer road trip with his grandfather. With the good news, Ben packs his stuff and can't help but smile at the exciting adventure. Before he goes, his mom and dad hug him and his father apologizes for his behavior and tells him to have fun. Ben says thanks and makes his way to his grandfather's RV, dubbed by the family the Rust Bucket. As Ben hops in the van, he tosses his stuff in the front seat, only for his bag to be thrown back at him. Gwen sits in his spot reading a book. Ben, surprised by this, argues about the seating, but Max quiets them down and excitedly starts the RV and puts on some country music. After a long drive, the trio park at a camping spot, and Max sets up some firewood to whip up some dinner. Max jokes for them not to set the forest on fire while he's gone, and for Gwen to watch her cousin. Ben immediately complains over this arrangement, and Gwen states that it's simply because she's more mature than he is. He calls her a doofus and proves her point. She asks if he got a cut on his lip for talking smack. After he tells her what happened, she decides to show him some moves to make sure that he doesn't lose again. Ben and Gwen spar and she puts him in the dirt repeatedly. Though he's outskilled, he makes attempt after attempt and doesn't give up. The last time Ben goes down, Gwen walks over. Well, you don't know anything about fighting, but it's a good thing you're tough. She puts her hand out to help him up. He pushes it away and goes for a walk in the woods. Just beyond Mars' atmosphere, Xylene's ship jumps from hyperspace. Her ship is torn apart. Xylene makes a call to the Maker and informs him that the ship has arrived in the Milky Way, but that it's badly damaged, and she doesn't know if she'll make it to their contact on Earth before she runs out of power. The Maker tells her to send the weapon in a pod and give it as much time as possible. Xylene knows what he's asking her to do. She makes her preparations and sends the weapon to Earth, just in time as Vilgax has found her. She uses the last of her power to turn in the ship's direction. She diverts all power to the boosters and bolts her ship straight into the face of Vilgax's shuttle, sacrificing herself in the process. Ben sits on a rock and looks up at the stars. He sighs and notices a light shining on him. A meteor flies towards him, and Ben panics. He runs and narrowly dodges the craft. He approaches the crater, and of course, the pod opens, and he sees the Omnitrix. The events progress about the same way as the show. He turns into the fiery alien and nearly burns the forest down. Gwen and Grandpa Max find him. Ben panics and feels terrible for the mess he's caused, but his grandfather tells him that if he made this fire, maybe he could be the one to put it out. He walks him through to maybe focus his energy on absorbing the heat. Ben does so, and the flames stop. The family speaks on Ben's condition and how to bring him back to his original form. Suddenly, the symbol on his chest lights up red and the iconic countdown begins. Ben shifts back to himself, completely fine. Though they're all fearful and excited from this event, Max suggests that they get some rest. They pack it in for the evening, and Max looks worryingly at the skies above. For most of the film, Vilgax will be on his ship, slowly being rebuilt and healed, becoming the puppet master until he is ready to strike. Even in his injured state, his presence will fill the room with fear, and he's about to make his first move. The earth shakes. Gwen wakes Ben and tells him that there's something going on outside. They all step foot out of the RV and they see as massive robots walk around the camping grounds, smashing trees, crushing cars, and causing families to run for their lives. Max sees as these families are being put in danger. He runs to help and tells the kids to stay put. Ben presses a button and starts to select his character. Gwen reminds him of what their grandfather had just told him to do, and he answers, "I can't just stand here and watch. Stay here if you want, but I'm going hero." He presses down on the watch and transforms into a crystal, tall, yellow-eyed alien. Max lifts the log off the trapped man, and Gwen comes to help. When he asks where Ben is, Ben's crystal form jumps at the robot and punches it back. Like a reflex, he fires spikes from his arms and manages to deal some damage. Caught by surprise, another robot comes out of nowhere and strikes Ben, sending him flying. Ben shakes it off and sees a little girl crying for her parents and the robots blindly causing destruction. Like an instinct, he leaps into action, holds the little girl, and a massive spike grows from his back, stabbing straight into the robots, ending the violence. Ben looks down at the little girl, holding him tightly.
It's okay. You're safe. You're safe.
The next day, Ben explains that he thinks he understands the watch's programming. Press a button, select a character, and play as the character for a short period of time, like a fighting game. Grandpa Max reminds Ben that the watch is not a toy, and he must be responsible with it. Max decides to check on the injured people from last night and tells Ben not to touch the watch while he's gone. Ben, of course, does the opposite, and Gwen tells him not to. Ben says he needs to understand how these aliens work before the robots come. It's here that he transforms into every one of the main 10 aliens, marking their strengths, their weaknesses, along with the cool nicknames on a notebook.
Wow, look how buff this guy is, Gwen. And look, I got 4 arms.
Please don't tell me you're gonna name that one Forearms. Max returns to the campsite, only to see Ben about to use the watch again. Before Ben could explain, Max tackles his grandkids out of the way of a blast. A technological bounty hunter lands in front of them. The grandkids wonder who this intruder is, and Max tells them to run and pulls out an advanced-looking pistol to return fire. Max manages to get them to the rust bucket and they speed off. Ben presses the watch and looks to choose the appropriate alien for the situation, maybe Stinkfly or Accelerate. When Ben presses the button, his perspective shrinks down to the floor, turning him into the small but brilliant alien, Gray Matter. Not the alien he had in mind, but it's not long before he has an idea. While the fighting continues, the hunter aims the shoulder cannon at the RV's tires. However, the cannon turns to its helmet and fires directly in its face. Ben hops back into the RV, proud of hacking the hunter's suit. Though they wish they could enjoy their safety, both grandkids know that their grandfather has some serious explaining to do. After they settle down, Max gets the kids some fast food and tells them the truth about who he really is. He shows them holographic photos of his years on the job as a plumber, an intergalactic peacekeeper, how he spent the better half of his life defending the galaxy, and while he's been retired for years, the past has caught up to him. Ben thinks this is rather cool and wishes to know more, but Gwen points out that he should have told them sooner. When Ben asks if he knows what the watch is, Max says no, but that the data he found at the meteor site might. Max plugs in the data and he sees an old friend, Xylene, in her final moments. She explains that the weapon, the Omnitrix, was designed to transform its user into thousands of different alien life forms. That the watch was created to finally end the war with Vilgax by providing this greatest weapon to their best soldier, Max Tennyson. Worrying about the watch falling into Vilgax's hands, she put a lock on it so that if he managed to capture the weapon, he would only have access to 10 aliens. In her last moments, she tells Max that she loves him, and the message ends. On Vilgax's ship, the Techno Hunter steps inside. Two other bounty hunters convene with Vilgax. The hunter gives its report in an alien language.
It has seemed that we have overestimated your skills, 6-6.
6-6 bows his head in shame.
Volcanus, Shard, you will join 6-6 on this hunt. Either you succeed or perish at the hands of Vilgax.
After the news, Max went into his room and hasn't come out. Ben and Gwen discuss what just happened, how this is probably why their parents never really got to see Max when they were kids. The question on Ben's mind, who is this Vilgax? Vilgax is an intergalactic warlord and is the most dangerous being I've ever met. The usually cheerful Max loses his Hawaiian shirt, now sports his old plumber uniform. Max grabs some weapons in hidden compartments, and Ben makes a decision. Seeing as the watch was sent for Max, Ben offers the watch to his grandfather. Max tells him that he believes the Omnitrix ended up with him for a reason. He proposes to drop them off at a police station, and they wait for their parents. Ben reminds Max that Xylene said that this watch is the best chance at defeating Vilgax, and Gwen points out that as long as Vilgax is out there, nowhere is safe. Before they can make a decision, they hear a commotion outside. The Tennysons step outside the RV and see as 3 bounty hunters walk towards them. Max pushes the kids back and the largest of the hunters grabs him and tosses him into a field. 6-6 flies towards the kids and Ben activates the Omnitrix. Ben uses forearms and uppercuts the hunter. With a surprising agility of forearms and his strength, Ben uses wrestling moves and styles from his favorite video games to take on both hunters. With the unnatural fighting abilities of this race, it's almost like his body knows exactly what to do. Gwen runs to the rust bucket and looks for the weapons her grandfather activated. Meanwhile, Ben is holding his own against the aliens. But Max is struck by Volcanus and flown back. This angers Ben, and he suplexes Volcanus and starts pummeling him into the ground. While in his enraged state, the hunters grab hold of him and pin him down. Ben tries to shake them off, but hears the horror of the watch's timer counting down. The hunters are then struck by a huge beam of energy. The rust bucket fires its cannons and presses the hunters back. Ben, now back to his normal self, runs to his grandfather. The rust bucket clumsily skids into the field and Gwen shouts at them to get in. As the family races away, 6-6 reports to Vilgax of their failure.
Return to the ship. I will deal with Tennyson myself.
Back in the rust bucket, Ben looks for a medkit to help his grandfather. He ends up finding a collection of old maps. Max tells him that there's a base on there that they could follow, and they drive all the way to Mount Rushmore. The base is full of alien technology and tools that they could use. The kids see the years of good their grandfather did. Weapons confiscated from dangerous aliens, and libraries of information. A particular section of the library that interests Gwen is the section marked for magic. Max tells them that they'll have a chance to explore later, but that they need to keep moving. Ben is tired of running and wants to fight the warlord head on. He points at the weapons and exclaims that at least one of them must be able to defeat Vilgax. Max thinks and remembers an old prototype they were working on. He opens a large security door, and on a small platform is a gun with a wide barrel, the Null Void Chamber, used to teleport dangerous aliens to another dimension. While they used to escort criminals to a larger device, Max and his team were developing a handheld version to lower field risk, but it proved to be too dangerous in the wrong hands. Max inspects the security cameras and finds the androids drilling into the base. The kids see the expression of fear on their grandfather's face as he sees something that terrifies him. The power goes out. Max hands a blaster to his granddaughter and instructs Ben to pick an alien to transform into, preferably one with stealth and could see through the dark. Ben perks up and starts to flip through the selection. With that, the Tennysons get ready to fight their way out. The androids enter and search the area for the Tennysons. Suddenly something fast flies past them. One by one, the androids are scratched and torn apart. A droid has its head torn off from the jaws of Wild Mutt. The family make their way through the base, Ben slicing through the droids and Gwen and Max taking out the stragglers. The plan goes well until Ben gets too cocky and runs too far ahead. He then sees something heavy and powerful walking towards him. Ben, overconfident, rushes towards it, and it decks him in the jaw. Ben shakes off the hit and tries again. The giant catches him and slams him into the wall. He tosses Ben aside, and the painful grunts of a mutt echo in the base.
You've grown slow in your old age, Maxwell.
The mass steps into the light, and we finally see Vilgax standing over him. The Omnitrix counts down, and Ben quivers in pain.
A child? The Omnitrix is in the hands of a mere child?
Max and Gwen come around the corner and fire their weapons, Max shouting at him to get away from his grandson. Max lifts a rocket launcher over his shoulder and fires it towards Vilgax's face. Max tells Gwen to get Ben and get out. He then puts on large taser gauntlets and rushes towards Vilgax. The two start to brawl, and Gwen helps Ben outside. The kids take cover behind some rubble. Ben struggles to get up and he tells his cousin that they need to go back. They hear a massive explosion and Gwen looks over the rock. Their grandfather struggles to keep up with the mechanical monster. He reaches for the Null Void Chamber and attempts to fire, only for it to short circuit. Vilgax tosses the gun aside and presses Max down with his boot.
Boy, if you want to preserve the life of your grandfather, you will bring me the Omnitrix.
Gwen stops him. He fights her, but Gwen wrestles him down. Vilgax presses on his enemy and Max screams as he feels the pain of his broken bones. Tears stream over Gwen's face as she holds her cousin back. A ship hovers over Vilgax, and he drags Max inside. The ship leaves, and the kids are forced to watch as their grandfather is taken from them. Trees come down as Ben uses Diamond Head to slice and crush things around him. Gwen tells him to stop, and he blames her for letting their grandfather get taken away. Before they could argue, the bounty hunter Shard returns. Ben lunges at him and he easily tosses Ben aside. Gwen raises her firearm and tells Shard to stay away from Ben. The hunter raises his hands, claiming that he comes in peace, and lets his mask come off.
Holy crap, he's a Diamond Head. I'm a Petrosapien and my name is Tetrax Shard.
Gwen keeps her gun on him and asks why they should trust him. That's when Tetrax shows them a device with the same symbol as the Omnitrix, and the kids look at each other in confusion. After they all cool down, the kids learn that Tetrax, a fellow plumber, was sent by the creator of the Omnitrix to spy on Vilgax or return the Omnitrix if all else fails. He apologizes for not being there sooner, but that he needed to maintain his cover. That's when he suggests that they get off world before it's too late, and Vilgax brings the rest of his armada.
I was hoping to avoid this, but with Max captured, war seems inevitable.
Ben says that he won't leave his grandfather in a cell and waits for Gwen to pack him up. She reminds her cousin that their grandfather let himself get captured to keep the Omnitrix away from Vilgax, and maybe they should do right by his sacrifice. Ben shouts at the two of them and says that he'll never leave his grandfather behind. Vilgax tosses Max on the bridge of his mothership and towers over him.
All those years so you could die on a backwater world. The great Max Tennyson, a coward who hides behind a child.
Max turns to look at Vilgax in the eyes. My grandson's the bravest young man I've ever known, and he will never give you the Omnitrix. I'm gonna give him the Omnitrix. Gwen argues with this, unable to believe in what she's hearing. Ben knew that she wouldn't understand. How could she? The pure and perfect Gwen. In his mind, he messed up, and he wasn't strong enough, and it cost him their grandfather. That even with the watch, he will never be good enough. Gwen takes this in and tells him that her life isn't perfect. She's always expected to maintain her high grades, extracurriculars, and social life. Sometimes she just wants to be a kid, and that leaves her with a lot of anxiety and doubts. That she wishes she was more like him, fearless and heroic. This makes Ben feel a little better. That's when Tetrax approaches and looks to the sky. The Armada has arrived. Tetrax discovers that Vilgax has blocked their transmissions, so they won't be able to call for help. The children suggest with Tetrax's cover, they infiltrate the mothership and maybe save their grandfather. They bring him the null void chamber in the hopes of using it, but it's beyond his capabilities to fix. The three fly up to the mothership, witnessing the Armada in all its glory. They enter the mothership and work their way through the detention center. They find their grandfather. Ben transforms into Stinkfly and spits acid on the lock, breaking it. The group is intercepted by Volcanus. It doesn't take long before he realizes that they've been betrayed, and they start to fight. As 6-6 and the siege of androids come by, Tetrax stays and fends off the small army. They make it to the ship, only for Vilgax and his forces to be blocking their path. Ben feels his blood boiling and flies towards Vilgax. Ben buzzes around him, firing slime and hitting him with his stinger. Eventually, Vilgax grabs hold of him and slams him into the ground. Gwen tries to support him by firing at the drones, but her cousin tells her to run. Gwen looks at her grandfather and blasts a hole into the vents, escaping. Ben, Max, and Tetrax are all brought to the bridge. Meanwhile, Gwen watches from the vents. Vilgax comments that the way Ben fights is that of a child, angry and impulsive. It's here that Vilgax gives him a chance to be much more. Vilgax explains how on his planet, he watched as the Cruel ruled over the people. He shows a holographic tragedy of his people's pain, how he sacrificed parts of himself to become the warrior he is today, but was brokenhearted to learn that the galaxy is full of planets like his. The Omnitrix is just a way to stop him from eliminating this process. He offers Ben a place as his apprentice, and together, with their respective powers, they can lead all worlds to prosperity. Max shouts at Ben, reminding him that all he wants is the watch. Ben thinks about how he's felt weak his whole life, how the watch was the only thing that didn't make him feel small. He remembers the bravery he witnessed from his cousin and grandfather, even though they didn't have an Omnitrix. After everything they've been through, they all stood together. He looks at Vilgax in the eyes and says, "If you're what winning looks like, I'll take my chances with the losers." Vilgax places Ben in a large device that will separate him from the watch. Max begs Vilgax to take him, to let his grandson live.
As you said, Maxwell, it's not you that I want.
The machine fires up and Ben feels its energy attempting to tear him apart. The watch fights back and tries to maintain its connection to its host. Vilgax boosts the power all the way and a green explosion erupts. They all look in anticipation. No sign of Ben. Vilgax lifts the smoking Omnitrix and presents it to everyone. Ben opens his eyes and he sees a world of green machinery. As he walks around, he hears a voice call out to him, like the entire world is speaking to him.
In all my years in this universe, I've never seen such irresponsibility.
He looks down and sees a small alien with green and black robes. Hey, you're the—
Yes, I'm the creator of the Omnitrix. And if you were about to say gray matter, my name is Azimuth.
Confused, Ben looks around and asks where he is. The last thing he remembered was feeling like he was about to
die. Yes, you were. But my Omnitrix saved you.
That's when it all clicks. Ben realizes that he's in the Omnitrix and remembers his family. He has to get out. He has to save them. Azimuth agrees to send him back. But if, and only if, he brings the watch back to him so that he may destroy it. Azimuth prepares to go on a rant about responsibility and leadership, but Ben cuts him off to say that he will do what he asks. I know I messed up, and I can't blame anyone else. But with or without your stupid watch, this is my fight, and I'm gonna finish it. Azimuth looks suspiciously towards him and asks why. Ben thinks about all that he's been through, and the bravery of the people he's witnessed in this journey, because that's what heroes do. Azimuth smiles and looks proudly at Ben Tennyson, the wielder of the Omnitrix.
There's hope for you yet, Ben Tennyson.
Azimuth turns away and opens a hologram and presses on its buttons. The watch shifts around and changes its gears. Ben asks what he's doing.
I'm giving you master control of the Omnitrix. You will be able to transform as long as you want. Although, since the device wasn't assigned to your exact DNA, you won't be able to have all 10,000 just yet. Otherwise, your body will mutate into some sort of monster. Ben hears this and can't even imagine what a monster like that could look like. Ah, what the heck, I'll throw in a few more. You'll probably be fine. He turns to face Ben with a smile on his face. Oh, if I might make a suggestion, why don't you call this one Way Big? Vilgax goes through with his invasion of Earth. With his greatest threats imprisoned, he expects this planet to fall easier than most. That is, until the ship feels a massive shift, and the droids inform him that there's a large portion of his ship that has been torn off. Vilgax and his forces hear a booming voice call out to him.
Hey Vilgax, pick on someone your own size.
Ready to take on the entire armada, Ben has returned as the white and red-finned alien, Way Big. Vilgax orders his ship back to his location.
To all mecha droids, destroy Ben Tennyson!
Ben uses his massive power to destroy the ships in his path. Within the mothership, Gwen has heard all of this and she uses a commotion to release her grandfather and Tetrax, and they quickly escape. Ben sees Tetrax's ship and smiles as he can now target the mothership. He transforms into Heat Blast and shoots himself upwards. Ben shifts between aliens, transforming himself to get closer to the mothership. He shifts into Way Big and punches the vessel in half. Tetrax's ship lands and the crew comes out to meet Ben. The family hugs and Max tells the kids how proud he is of them. Suddenly an explosion of smoke and dust invade their senses as Vilgax rises from a crater. Max steps forward but Ben tells him that this is his fight. He asks Gwen if she still has the null void chamber, takes it, and tells her to be ready. As Ben prepares to fight Vilgax, the Tennysons and Tetrax fight the other bounty hunters. Ben and Vilgax begin to fight and have an epic battle of skill and power. Ben shifting between his aliens, running, biting, scratching, all to wean him down. Ben uses Way Big to kick him back and reverts to gray matter for a special project. He calls Gwen over and Ben feels Vilgax grab him with a tight metallic grip. Vilgax tells him that he could have been his equal, a god among men. Ben shifts back into himself and tells him that he's fine just being Ben, because Ben knows who he wants to be, a hero. He calls out to Gwen, creating a portal to the null void, and Ben kicks him in the eye. Vilgax missteps and Ben uses all his aliens to blast him into the portal. The portal closes and Vilgax disappears into nothingness. Ben and his family say their farewells to Tetrax as he brings the hunters to prison. Ben assumes that they will be heading back home, and his grandfather reminds him that it's only July. They all laugh and look forward to the rest of the adventure the summer may bring. As Ben looks at the night stars, he picks up his phone and calls his dad. His dad picks up and almost panics when he answers the phone. Ben tells him that everything is fine. He just wanted to say sorry for how he left things. He thanks him for the trip, and the father and son get the closure that they need. The kids and their grandfather sit by the fire, enjoying the evening with laughter, s'mores, and stories. Ben returns to school after their summer vacation. Gwen has joined him in their junior year, and she even has the book from the plumber base marked Magic. They settle in as the teacher takes in the attendance. The teacher calls out name one by one until she repeatedly calls out one name of a missing student. A Kevin Levin. No response until a shaggy-haired, punk rock-styled kid walks into the room. Ben doesn't pay much attention until Kevin sits right next to him, Kevin asking him if he could borrow a pencil. Ben looks over at Kevin, holding a mischievous look. Ben hands him a pencil, and Kevin reaches for it, or rather, the Omnitrix.
Well, there you have it, folks. Ben 10 the movie. Thank you so much for watching and sticking around until the end. If you're a fan of Ben 10, please let me know if you enjoyed the video and if you want a part 2 where I could explore a sequel to this film. That being said, subscribe for more, and this is Batwolf, howling out.